Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Listen, I'm going to talk to you all, if I may, about something specific, and that is that like I said in my last upload, it's about this dysfunction that we have amongst our people that we think is unique to us. And no matter how many times I say this is one message for which if you hit the share button, a lot of the others don't listen. As my active and constant listeners know, I started a new job. In this new job, I've really been active in it, but in this new job, there has been a lot of disorganization. Now, what I've been very lucky is that I am not blamed for things that are beyond my control in this new job. That has not happened. I am not blamed for anything that I had no control over. I went in, my first day at work was on Sunday. I traveled on Saturday, and I've uploaded since then, but I traveled on Saturday. Started work Sunday morning. And they came to me, the actual owner of the company, who I didn't even know was the owner. I knew he was a boss, but I didn't know he was an owner. Came to me and said, listen, I saw you had a router. And I said, yes, I got my router, the little portable routers. And he said, okay, we'll need that. I've got the SIM cards with unlimited data, unlimited internet, but we need to use your router for Wi-Fi. He said, we'll do that tomorrow. So he told me a day in advance. So what I did was that when I got home, I took the router and I took the battery out. I put my SIM card in the router into my phone so that I would then have, because I got a dual SIM card phone, so I would then have my voice line and I would also have my internet line on my phone. Then I would utilize the Wi-Fi at the hotel, and I would utilize the Wi-Fi at the job. And so then the next morning, they came to me with the SIM card and I put that into the router, and we had, I set up the Wi-Fi. Company's name as the name of the network, and something real easy but long, however still easy, as the password. Got all these computers on it. Sunday, I was asked to do interviews. I was asked to conduct interviews, but I was told almost at the last minute, about 30 minutes before, and at the same time that they were telling me to do this on Sunday, they were giving me other stuff to do so that I could not utilize that half hour to prepare for these interviews. But the good thing is this: amidst all of the disorganization, no one blamed me for not being able to effectively do anything I was told about at the last minute. Like the interviews, I didn't do a good job conducting the interviews, but they didn't blame me because they knew, you know what, Black Mind did this on a last minute notice. And he still did it. I incurred expenses to travel. But you know what? As disorganized as they were, when I went to the HR manager and I said, look, what about these travel expenses and reimbursement for them? He said, yeah, the bills or the charges that were sent to you, send me the images of them, which is an easy thing to do. We do reimburse. So we did it. They did feed us at work. That they did. They fed us at work. We conducted placement tests this last week, and then we gave interviews as a second chance to the students who failed the placement test. A lot of these students were between 7 to 23 years old. 7 to 21. We had students that came to us and they failed the placement test miserably. And guess what else happened? During the interviews, I would say to them, look, I'm not going to take a long time on this interview. This is your second chance because this grade is a failing grade. A lot of them didn't see the grades until I called them into the office and showed them the test paper. And I said, have you seen your result? No. Now, a lot of times when I ask them in Arabic, have you seen your result? What do you mean result? Well, that's the only way you say grade, particularly in Arabic. So I'd have to say, I'm talking about on the test. Did you see the test results? Oh, no. How do you not understand Arabic? That's how dumb some of them were. They're not born stupid. They become stupid because, like us, they have a problem with anti-intellectualism. And this is what I wanted you to get it and understand. I've talked about this before. Now I'm going to give you some details. See, we know about anti-intellectualism amongst black folks. It's there. It's been around for a while. And it's really, really enforced for boys. Sexually enforced for boys. And later, males, men, adult men, I'm sorry. BGS has talked about this, and he's uploaded probably about 2 videos since I started recording this morning, my time. So I got to catch up on him while I'm up editing this upload and the one before it. Gentlemen, BGS, it's talked about at nauseum. He has talked about how it is that they don't even want to teach black boys how to read. So I was sitting in his office with these Saudi youth of various cities, some of them not Bedouin, some of them Bedouin, talking only about their origins at this point. But seeing how some of them came from the culture of Bedouin, which is anti-intellectual. And of course, as I've stated previously, in the last 4 years, it's begun to get better and improve. So what's happened is really from 3 years ago, you can really see the change. So you could see a big change from 2017 to 2018. But then you could see an even bigger change. The biggest change I saw at first was going from 2016 to 2017. Then you saw a bigger change going into 2018. And between 2018 and now, you can see the biggest. Now you got students that are good students that are willing to snitch on cheaters. They'll rat them out. If they catch them, they will snitch on them. They ain't scared of them no more. They come to understand just because he's stupid don't make him bad. Man, I'll snitch this kid out and tell him to his face, I snitched on you, nigga. Do something. Oh, they done got about it over here. I'm talking to good students. Do you know where some of this came from? Not all, but do you know where some of this came from? The black manosphere. Finally rising up and saying, you know what? F your sensibilities. F these high school nigga sensibilities in which nobody wants to be the nerd. You don't have to be socially awkward to be smart. You don't have to be smart to be socially awkward. The two don't go hand in hand. So, in all honesty, shuck that fit. We're not going to live in fear of being labeled this anymore. So, some of them got, maybe not knowing about the black manosphere, they still heard about this questioning the validity of the label of nerd for being smart. And they said, you know what, man, shuck this fit. They don't have a specific Arabic word that means nerd, a direct translation, but they do have a nickname for it, Mustafa, smart guy. No, I'm sorry. There's another word that is used for that, smart guy, but I forgot what it is. But it's used as an epithet. So it's pretty close to nerd. And they begin to question the validity of somebody even saying this to someone else as an insult and as an epithet. Because it happened right after the black manosphere began to do this often enough for me to hear about it, I have to give y'all some credit for it. Because in all honesty, the manosphere in general is more known amongst bilingual Saudi youth, male youth, than what we think. And they, especially the intellectual ones amongst them that are also bilingual and understand racial sensitivities in the English-speaking world, are not apt to simply buy into the white manosphere. So by default, they've got to be listening to something from the black manosphere, even if it's not live, due to the time difference. There were students that sat in my office, largely not bilingual, sitting up and just failing because I would tell them 3 things I would say to these students in English. I would say to them in Arabic. I have to ask you 3 questions in English. All you have to do is 3 things in your answer. Number 1, answer the question I asked you. Number 2, answer in English. Number 3, use more than one word in your answer. And if you make a mistake in English, that's okay. Grammar mistakes are fine, but you must answer the question I asked in English and in more than one word. That's it. Just those things. And I would say to them, because Saudis are lazy. Even in Arabic, they're lazy. I said to them, the third thing is important. You need to utilize 2 or 3 words in the answer. Don't give me a one-word answer or you will fail. Do you know most of them niggas gave me one-word answers right after I told them in Arabic not to? And I would say to them, you failed all 3 questions. Lish, that means why. And that's slang because limada is too many syllables for some of them. Limada is how you would say why in correct Arabic. Lish is the slang. What does that tell you? So I would say to them, I told you in Arabic not to give me one-word answers, and you answered every last one of them in one word, and some of them you didn't even answer the question I asked you. How old are you? Fine. So not only did you answer something I didn't ask you, you still gave me a one-word answer. And if I say, which city are you from, and you go, Saudi Arabia, that counts as one word, and you answered the wrong question. You failed. This is not for beginners in English. This is for people who at least have a few basic sentences, even if it's how are you? He's doing well. If for students that at least know the difference between I, he, she, at least that. We and they, at least stuff like that. This is for students that at least paid attention in middle school and high school English classes. Because we know y'all had bad teachers. But did you pay attention? Pick up 2 or 3 sentences? Nope. Some of them came in and said, listen, doctor, I don't speak English. No, I'll talk to you in Arabic, but you're going to answer these questions in English or fail the interview. Now you have the option of saying, I didn't understand, but you failed that question. You have that option. But for the other conversation, I don't mind using Arabic, and they would still look and say, doctor, say it in Arabic. I don't understand you. After I just said it to them in Arabic, they're that stupid. When I say they're that stupid, what I mean is they were listening with their eyes instead of their ears. So I could be speaking to them in Arabic, and they somehow still heard English because they would see that I wasn't wearing a robe and a towel on my head. Now, I'm not saying this to insult their clothing. I'm really saying this to insult their intellect, because the way that they are in their minds at times, you wonder if they themselves think of their clothing the same way someone else does, or just grab a towel and throw it on their head, even though what they're wearing isn't a towel. What I'm saying is that you would see them and see their intellect, and you would think, how do they know the difference between what they're supposed to put on their head and a towel? I'm not joking. They would come across that dumb, because if I'm talking to you in your own first language and you can't even hear your own language, it's not because of my accent per se. I wasn't talking fast enough for them to not know it was Arabic. Spoke slowly to make sure I could pronounce it clearly. They just weren't listening. There's a video about that where some non-phenotypically Japanese speakers are in a Japanese restaurant in Japan, and the waitress can only understand Japanese when the Asian American lady speaks it. So then other American Japanese have to tell the Chinese American lady that doesn't speak Japanese what to say in Japanese so she can say it, because if you don't have the Asian phenotype and you speak Japanese, the lady can't understand you. And that's what the Arabs are like. The video, you can find it. I've referred to it before. The video was funny as all get out. These Bedouins still have that. They have that problem for real. This is common. In Japan, they made this as a joke. In Saudi Arabia, that is common. And trust me, every single time I experience somebody doing this, they turn out to be stupid in a lot of other areas of life too. They go hand in hand. And this many people cannot be that dumb organically. That means they're training themselves to be stupid because of something in the culture they're following. And of course, after almost 9 years here, I know that that's the case. Why am I telling you all about this? Because you think that certain dysfunctions are only unique to black people. And they're not. What is unique about black people is a specific combination of dysfunctions and functions. But that's unique to everybody. There is a specific combination of dysfunctions and their severities and reactions to it amongst Indians, and that changes from portion to portion of India. Just like amongst Black Americans, certain dysfunctions are not prevalent in all areas. Blasphemy is common in the Northeast of the United States amongst Negroes. Yes, it is. Calling each other gods is blasphemy. Calling the women goddess is blasphemy. We are not gods and we are not goddesses. How did the devil get his foot on our necks if we are? We don't know we're gods. That means we ain't gods. Because how's God gonna not know he God? Get it? Yeah, that's a dysfunction. Are we worse now after having called ourselves gods and goddesses, or are we better than before? I'd say we're worse to a certain extent. Because I'm going to tell you now, if you God, why don't you just go ahead and wire me 14 grand US? You God, you can do it, and you don't have to steal it from anybody else. You God, remember? But that's another topic for another day. Another thing, for the most part, well, yeah, you get the idea. The dysfunction is human. It's universal amongst human beings. The combinations vary, but the dysfunctions don't. The severities vary, but the existence does not. It's there. Incest is here amongst these sexually conservative people who don't engage in certain things sexually that we hear about and don't think it's normal, but the existence still is there. They know about incest. It's whispered about, it's not talked about openly. And that's a good thing because they're not desensitized to it, but they know it exists. They don't think it's okay, but they know it's there. Booty banditry, the stuff that lots of people used to do, that goes on. They know it exists. They don't say it's okay, but they know it exists. They kind of laugh about it. They're desensitized to it to a certain extent, kind of, the same way we are. Just like we're trained to laugh about a guy's experience if he gets incarcerated and gets violated during the incarceration by another male inmate or male guard. Same thing. We might laugh about it a little bit. Some of them will do that. Some of them will laugh about it. Like it's for tee-hee-hee. I'm like, man, it's not funny. There are cases where middle school boys get chased home from school by other middle schoolers. And if they don't make it home and before those other guys catch them, they get violated. And they ain't even in prison. That's real. And you get sick and tired of stuff like that. You may be tired of this amongst our own people, and it's a good thing if you are. It's just a bad thing if you think that others don't have that. No, others don't necessarily get demonized for that. You think there's no incest in India? As conservative as they can be? No, it's just not okay. It's not okay amongst us either. So we got to get rid of these notions. And you know, I say hit the share button all the time. This is a case in which I need you all to hit that share button and talk to the people with whom you share this link. It is not important that we excuse our dysfunction. It is important that we do not allow ourselves to be singled out for them, nor do we participate in singling ourselves out for any of them things. Because see, when it happens, then we become confused about the dysfunction and its distinction from questioning and confronting the dysfunction. I'll give an example. A diet that is suicidal is dysfunction, even if you know that it's suicidal. In East Asia, they know that chitlins are going to kill them. They still eat them. Somebody said on Facebook, we're the only ones that demonize our own diet, man. In East Asia, they be eating chitlins as a delicacy. East Asia's not our role model. The Chinese and the Koreans are not our role models. And if chitlins are a delicacy amongst them, The fact that we have to hear about this on a Facebook post tells me something. That means that the ones dysfunctional enough to eat them chitlins over there probably don't ever make it to get a visa to the States at a consulate or an embassy. That's what that tells me. Because I can tell you now, the black folk I meet here, most as dysfunctional as they can be with some things, chitlins ain't a part of it. They ain't. Now I told you all. I told you all about Sandra here. The one that used to work with me. Oh, she loved to eat pork. She couldn't get it here. I can't go without my pork. She would be here 10 months out the year going without pork. I'm not joking. She's still here in the kingdom, working in the capital city in Riyadh now. I want y'all to stop and think about it. She's here in the kingdom, working in Riyadh. I have to have my pork sandwich. She goes 10 months without it at least, if not 11. For the muck. We have more discipline than we think that we do. That's not all. I'll tell you some more. We're not the only ones that demonize the diet. See, demonizing a bad diet is not a dysfunction. That's not anything for this guy on Facebook to condemn. We are the ones that actually are confronting it, and we're not the only ones that do that and say we need to eat better as a people. We ain't the only ones doing that. You got Mexicans in the United States saying we need to alter our diet. They can have a high-fat diet in Mexico because they walk more. In Mexico, because in general, on average, they walk more, they can eat more fat because they burn it. In the United States, where they walk less, they can't eat as fat a diet as they do back home. They've talked about this on their talk shows. I'm not fluent in Spanish anymore, but even when I had begun to forget a lot, I saw this on a talk show in the United States. We're not the only ones that confront our diet. Not by a long shot. And confronting our stank, funky diet that's suicidal is not dysfunction. That's confronting a dysfunction. If anything, give us credit for that. That's actually something to brag about. In East Asia, they eat chitlins and won't even say this is stank, smelly, funky, and it's suicidal to eat. They don't even do that. Oh no, this is part of the culture. Eat it. Man, fit the guck out my face with that sure bit. It's like Huey Freeman said on the Boondocks, on that episode entitled The Itis, I think it was. Boy, this food is a part of your culture. Well, then the culture is destructive. We're coming to that point. We're having that conversation as a people. They're not. In that regard, we are superior to them and they're inferior. In that regard. Not genetically so, but culturally when it comes to that, we're superior, they're inferior. You want to know who else is starting to have this conversation, but not nearly as much as we are? Arabs. Arabs are beginning, these Arabs here in this region of the world are beginning to confront their diet. They're like, you know what, we need to do something about this. We eat all this rice. Then we eat, more than enough meat, and we don't eat vegetables. Especially men. We act like eating vegetables is it's a feminine thing. But then we all wish we could have these muscle-bound bodies like the guys in the gym. They're having this conversation. 8 years ago, they were having this conversation. I never forget when one of my partners, Solomon, was talking about his brother John. I'm translating some of these names, as well as changing some of them. I never forget when Solomon told me, man, I'm worried about my brother John. John was 16 at the time. Now Solomon, you can have a very large age difference in between siblings. Solomon, my age. His brother John was 16. He said, man, Solomon said, man, John is big. I'm worried. What do I need to do? And I told him, look, just because my dad's a doctor doesn't mean I'm a doctor, but I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to change the culture. Because you're going to have to change your diet. And you all aren't doing that. That's what, keep him away from rice. Don't let him have rice. He needs to eat vegetables. I got a better idea. He needs to eat about a fist size of tomatoes and cucumbers before he eats anything else. Then he can have rice and meat, whatever he can find the room for. But that's what he needs to have. No more fried foods for him. None of that. That's what needs to happen. Can y'all do that? Oh man, I'm worried. I think he's gonna die. Yeah, looks like he is if y'all can't change this. And stop getting these lap band operations. That's expensive. Just change your diet and walk more. Goodness, man, what makes this stuff so hard? You're supposed to get up early in the morning for Fajr anyway. Nobody admits that they sleep past Fajr. Everyone will tell you, I get up for Fajr. You all will say this. Okay, fine. If you'll do it, then why don't you walk too? Well, we're tired. We go back to sleep. Then nigga, go to bed earlier. They had this conversation with me, an outsider. People are dysfunctional and people confront the dysfunctions. What changes is the specific combinations of their willingness to confront them, their dysfunctions themselves, and the severities of their dysfunctions. That's what is unique to each group. The same ingredients are there. It's the proportions of the ingredients that change. Stop saying only black folks, unless you're going to mention a particular combination. If you aren't befriending people, in-depth befriending people of other cultures and races too, fuck the shuck up about what only black folks do. Unless it's a combination of things. As far as calling people kings and queens, yeah, that's something I hear us do. Calling each other gods and goddesses routinely, I have not seen anybody else do that. But blasphemy, under which that falls, well, that's actually a cultural staple in Afghanistan. Afghanistan. People will curse God because of a calamity in their lives, and they'll do it loudly in front of each other. Can you be arrested for it? If somebody reports you, yeah. Maybe that's going to change now underneath the current rulers of Afghanistan. I don't think they're going to tolerate it when they get the reports. But could you? Absolutely you could. When the Yankees were running Afghanistan, it was already there. It just went unpunished. It was unenforceable. But now, I'm sure that if it's reported, it's enforceable. The punishments. You got to have a trial. I'm sure you got to have some witnesses and evidence to get a conviction. But boy, if that happens, you probably are going to be subjected to the death penalty. And as long as guilt is proven before there's an execution, I don't have a moral objection. I don't have a leg to stand on to make one. Blasphemy is not okay. So maybe we're the ones that specifically call each other gods and goddesses, just like we call each other kings and queens, mostly queens and goddess. That under which it falls, blasphemy, well, no, that's not unique to us at all. Not in the least bit. I mean, hell, there's a form of blasphemy. It's just subconscious, but there's a form of blasphemy that pretty much exists throughout the Muslim world that's not black. And that is the idea that white is normal, and the darker you are, the less normal that coloring is. Just that idea, not racial hatred, but just that idea is blasphemous. Bet y'all didn't know that. Oh yeah. But it flies under the radar because it's mostly subconscious. But that's common throughout the Muslim world that's not black. I know, right? Some of you say, well, yeah, you would know them Arabs, man, fuck the shuck up about the Arabs. They're actually more corrigible than other people. Most of the colorism and racism and just assumptions that like white supremacist ideas are normal, most of that actually comes not so much from the Arabs. The Arabs have it to a far lesser degree than the Arab adjacent neighbors like the Iranians, the Afghans, and the Pakistanis. Oh my God. And the Indians. Oh my God. It's just rooted in them. Like if I remind an Arab, hey, wait a minute, hold up. All of them are normal. Our mind in Arab, all these shades are normal. People like, yeah, you're right, that's true. Sahih, meaning correct. They take correction for these things a lot better. Y'all love to crap on Arabs about the racism and everything else. Boy, they are actually much easier to correct if you can get them to fuck the shuck up. You try correcting somebody from Iran. Their Shiaism has white supremacist ideas in it. There's a book called The Spectacle of Death. I don't even know who it was that compiled the stories, but some of the stories in it were taken from Persia. And they had some anti-black ideology written in those stories. But these were stories out of Persia. They weren't taken out of Arabic-speaking countries. Pakistan, nope, they ain't about to fight these ideas as a society. Now, black folks can be safe in Pakistan, but they're not going to fight these ideas as a society. Funny thing is, I actually heard a Pakistani speaking fluent Hausa. He was in Pakistan. He was talking to one of my friends from Nigeria. That did blow my mind. But that's another story for another day. But look, you know, my uploads lately, they've been long. I know this last upload before this one and this one is long, but it is important for black folks to understand that there is no dysfunction for the most part that is unique to us. It's not the case. If there is something unique to us, it is exceptional. I don't think you'll find 3 dysfunctions that are only ours. Don't think so. I hope that this helps out and benefits. I mean that from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. But yeah, I'm going to say again what I've said before when I talk about this subject. Damn it, please hit the share button and talk with your friends about this. Because it's important that we begin to spread this understanding and this knowledge. Those of us who live abroad and actually ask questions of our friends about the good and the bad of their cultures, not just one or the other, but both, will get a pretty clear picture. How do you think I know that Bedouin culture has been anti-intellectual? How do you think I know this? I befriended Bedouins and they told this to me. I didn't make this up, they said it. I had students that I would ask, hey, listen, bro. I would ask students early on, why the hell do y'all talk about Islam so much? And then y'all cheat on tests. Doctor, do you know what Bedouin means? That was the beginning of the answer. That question was the beginning of the answer. I learned about the word Bedouin from that conversation. I know what the word Bedouin meant, but Bedouinism I learned about in that conversation, which was one of multiples. My close friend told me that Allah talked about the Bedouins in the Quran and he corrected and censured the Bedouins. That when Allah said in the Quran, Al-Arab, he was talking about the Bedouins, the desert wanderers. The number of verses that has anything good to say about them pales in comparison to the number of verses that correct them. I don't know either number, and yet I still know that much about the proportion between the two of them. You think there's no anti-intellectualism in Mexico? Oh, no. There is. Even in Chicano communities in the States, the chicks love the cholos. And they fight each other too. The girls be fighting over dumb stuff. I don't like her. We fought already. Okay. Yeah, it's bad, isn't it, gentlemen? And we love to say, only us. No. Nope, you can find at least one other group that does some dumb stuff if we do it. Don't even sit up and say, I mean, one thing that is fairly unique about us is the severity of hybristophilia in our women. It's more like hybristomania. It's kind of. But look, amongst Chicanos, it's a problem. The chicks only want the cholos. If she's attractive, she wants a gangbanger. It's gotta be that. And they're not the only ones either. White women have hybristophilia too. Absolutely, they got it. It's just that for them, the threshold to register as a bad boy is a lot less. That's what that is. You know, he can have some, little vandalism, leather jacket, tattoos, jawline, and he may never have to fight anybody in his life. Never have to do that. And it's just something about him. They'll do that. Whereas, if you one of us, if you Chicano or you African American or just black Westerner in general, oh man, you got to be done shot somebody and gotten shot and survived, and you got to be tatted up, and you got to be done some time on a cell block, and just all kinds of stuff. You need to be done laid up in a public hospital and everything else. It's always that. But it's not unique to us. Not at all. Thanks for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because she don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Thanks again for flying with Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Justice forever.